Hi, everybody. It's Kira, the teen librarian at, well, Pueblo City County Library District, but I work out of Rawlings. Again, if maybe you've never seen me before, maybe this is same old face you see every week. This month is Native American Heritage Month, and I've got a number of things happening because of that. First, I want to let you know that there are two programs that are set up for Native American Heritage Month. And these programs require registration. And we have not had many registrations, and I'm concerned because these are great people who are, putting a lot of work into what they're going to present, and they really want some interaction with the teens and tweens. So tomorrow, on Friday, at 3:00, Tonio Lefebvre, who is from Pueblo, he's going to be giving a presentation, and he really wants to do some interaction. So I seriously almost beg you to please register on our website for that event. He's taken the time and energy to prepare this presentation, and I want him to have as big an audience as possible. Also on the 20th, Kelly Holmes, who founded Native Max magazine, which has become a sort of multimedia platform organization that's been award-winning. She founded it at age 20. She grew up on a reservation in South Dakota, and as a young person moved to Denver and then decided she wanted to form her own business, launched this magazine that has been very successful and that highlights sort of all the positive contributions of Indigenous people in Indian country. She's a great person, and she is presenting on the 20th. And I would also really love to see people register for that program as well. These are great people who are offering great stuff. So please register and be there with them live. Ask all the questions that you have. Give them your ideas. They both really want to hear from youth. They both told me that. So I'm asking you to register or to tell your friends to register because they're going to be great events, and I want them both to have really good audiences. Also, given the fact that it's Native American Heritage Month, my book talks will be reflecting that as well. So my first book that I will be talking about is Imaginary Borders. I'm going to hold it up for you, and I will be checking this into the library after I do this so that you guys will be able to check it out and read it. It's quite short. It is by Chutekot Martinez. You may have heard of him. He testified in front of the UN about climate change. He is an international youth leader in facing and meeting the challenge of climate change, which is largely what this book is about, but it's more personal than that. It's about climate change and the fact that it intersects with all the major problems in our society today, whether that's racism, wealth and income inequality, environmental racism. But in addition to that, I mean, he's not just talking about the science and the statistics of climate change and how really there is no more time left. It needs to be moved on now. And he talks about a rising movement rather than just, addressing this fundamental challenge. He's discussing this rising movement of young people. This book is written for you guys, okay? It's very well written. I'm actually, rather than try and talk about it, I'm going to read you just the prologue because I think it sort of it's a great prologue to the book, and it's a great prologue to get you to read the book, I hope. So it's only a few pages, and excuse me for reading in a video, but I really think that using his words is best. Also, this young man is from Colorado, okay? His indigenous roots are Mexican, but he grew up in Colorado, in Boulder, and he now travels all over the place. He's not simply an activist, he's also a hip hop artist. And if I were super tech savvy, I could play you a YouTube video of one of his songs. But the role of art and creativity in movement building and in this rising movement of youth is incredibly important. And he highlights it for himself personally in this book in a very important way. So I'm going to read you the prologue because it's great. And this is a great book. All right, so I'm going to start now. When adults make blatant generalizations about our generation, our disinterest in politics, and our disengagement from the real world, they're not seeing the whole picture. They don't see that the older generations who've shaped our society have done a really shitty job of creating a world that we feel inspired to engage with. We're not passive because we're ignorant and don't understand the challenges our world faces. We get that the changing climate is threatening our future. We can see the corruption of big industry money and politics. We can see the injustice and hatred, from unchecked police brutality to families being separated at the US-Mexico border, to militarized police using extreme force against water protectors at Standing Rock. It is literally being live streamed and documented in a way that has never been seen before. Our generation has the tools to understand what's going on better than any before us through social media and technology. But we often remain silent because these stories of crisis are never met with stories of solution. It's hard to find hope in the ocean of negative, depressing, fear-based media. So a lot of us check out. To cope with the broken world we live in, we distract ourselves with social media, drugs, partying, and an endless black hole of viral dance videos, leaned out trap rappers, and Fortnite memes. I've been involved in the climate movement since I was 6 years old, standing to protect sacred land from pipelines, suing the US federal government for knowingly contributing to the climate crisis, demanding binding policy change and a just transition from fossil fuels, and eventually becoming the youth director of the global organization Earth Guardians. Equally important to my climate activism has been my journey to deconstruct the broken story around our future and reinvent what our collective movement can look like. We are the most diverse and most connected generation in history. We need the story of our movements to reflect that, so we can better understand the power we have to shape our world in the face of the crisis at home. We all have a responsibility to be a part of this redefinition of movement culture. It's time to reclaim our space in these movements. Until every Friday night is an after party for the Fridays for Future school walkout y'all did earlier that day. Till our movements speak a language of culture and power, dripping in art, color, and diversity. Till fighting for what we believe in is something that becomes a part of us, not an external cause or use of energy. This book isn't about changing the world. It's about building it together. Whether the content of these pages helps you find it or not, you have a part to play. Because the future is as much yours as it is mine, and that's a beautiful thing. One thing that Shutate Scott points out in terms of his own experience is that, his indigenous heritage has never separated him as a human from the earth. Whereas the way that our economy and our society is structured is sort of fundamentally sort of ordered on that separation. we take what we need from the earth. It's a foreign thing that we take what we need from it. Whereas, in his culture, in the heritage that is his, the earth is not some separate thing. And I think that is something that all of us, not just the youth, to whom he's writing to you. This book is to you. But all of us need to listen to that. And I think in Colorado, we're probably more connected to the earth than in many other states, where there isn't as much sort of natural beauty and abundance. But nonetheless, I think every person, whatever our heritage is, needs to listen, to that part of Indigenous heritage, and needs to take it seriously. Because I think the movement that will save our world needs to be guided by it. And the future needs to be founded on that connection, rather than some sort of artificial separation where the earth is there to serve us as people. We need to cultivate that kind of society where there's no separation between people and earth. But anyway, it's a short book, and it's a great book. He talks about how he became really tired. I mean, he's been an activist since he was a tiny kid. Both of his parents are activists. And there was a certain point at which he became so tired, and he didn't have the energy and the passion anymore. And it was around that point that he became an artist himself. And becoming a hip hop artist is what sort of flipped a switch for him about how this movement would really succeed, and how it needed creativity and art from all of its diverse youth to sort of feed the movement, to be the movement. There's no separation between what you're fighting for and who you are in this. It's you, your creativity, your resilience, what you're making, what you're doing. It's all part of you. And I think that experience, despite the fact that he has been so active his entire life, I think he made his first speech at a rally at age 6, but he nonetheless faced this exhaustion, this running out of energy for something. And then he was able to refine that energy and that passion by discovering himself as an artist and for expressing himself through his art, and how much energy that gave him, and how that gave him a new self in which, his activism was not separate. It was not something that was taking his energy from him, but it was a part of him, just as his art is definitely a part of him. So I recommend you read the book. It's very well written, and quite inspiring. It gave me a lot of hope for our future, because I do know that our young people are so creative. They are so resilient. You are so creative and resilient and amazing. And I believe that you can solve so many problems that my generation, which is not, that much older, haven't been able to. Though we're, more than willing to try and solve them. And take the leadership. So yes, I actually ask all of you to read this. I think it is an important book. So I will return it, and then you will be able to check it out and read it and share it with your friends. One other thing that I just want to talk about before I get off this screen is I I had a really bad morning today. And the reason I had a really bad morning is because I want to be helping you guys to be yourselves, to be active, to be making, to be dreaming, to be growing up, to be finding out who you are and who you want to be navigating what's a tough time in everybody's lives. And I feel like, this pandemic is just making it so hard for me. And I felt so bad. I feel so bad about myself. And I feel so angry that this is going on and that I don't know how you're doing and that I'm worried about you. And I'm worried that you're missing out on an important part of your lives. And then I had a meeting, and part of that meeting, we came up with some plans, and I've already been trying to work on some plans. That would allow maybe you guys to be able to socialize from a distance, the old-fashioned way, by writing letters. Maybe to adults, and maybe what we talked about today is maybe to older folks who are really isolated and who are really hurting. And anyway, I just want to tell you that, I'm working on another program that hopefully will get you connected to other folks, maybe feel a little less isolated, maybe have a little fun, maybe get to know somebody who you might not get to know in regular, whatever that means anymore, times. But I want you to know that everybody at the library is hurting, and they're hurting for you as well as for us. We're feeling it too. And, but we really want you to know that we care about you, that we're thinking about you, that we wish we were here as a space to support you. And that we hope that you're taking the best care you can of yourselves, that you're staying healthy, that you're staying in touch with all the important people in your lives, and feeling as little isolated as is possible. And that we're trying to come up with ways to help you feel less isolated, to help you feel healthier, okay? And I just want you to know that we care. We're thinking about you. We wish we could see you every day. Take care of each other. I'm going to get off this screen now and go and work on a kit to go. But please take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Because I'm thinking about you. You never met me, but I'm thinking about you all the time. And I'd love to be running more programs that could help you feel more connected. I've got my email scrolling along the bottom here. Finally figured out how to do that. So if anybody has any ideas, I'd love to hear them. The things I've tried, I haven't gotten any registrations for, but please, if you've got ideas that you think other people would be down doing live, interactive, I will work on it. Okay, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.